was hit with the belt, I was not punched in the face.
By your dad?
No, God forbid. No,
same.
No.
Very different upbringing.
Yeah. No, my parents are. As I say, my
so
parents.
So who hit you with the belt?
At school when I was in high school.
Somebody hit you with a belt.
Oh yeah, it was a bad story. It was like it was at a sleepover. They used to have what was called a Shabbaton. It was a Jewish school in high school. They had like a Shabbaton. They put me in so I bounced around a lot educationally when I was a kid. So in the Jewish community, very often you start your kid off at a Jewish school and then they stay in Jewish schools all the way through high school.
Yeah.
My family became Orthodox when I was 11. So when I first went to Jewish school, I was already entering a class where all the cliques had been formed. Right, so I went to public school until I was 11. Then I went to private school for a couple of years. Then I went back to public school for a couple of years. Then I went back to private school for a couple of years.
And if you don't mind me asking, why the bouncing?
Finances. Some of it was finances. Some of it was...
So that your parents wanted you to be there, but sometimes they couldn't afford you to be there.
Yeah, for sure. When I was in 5th and 6th grade, I went to a private Jewish day school. They couldn't afford for me to do that, 7th and 8th grade. 7th and 8th, I went to Walter Reed, right over here.
Okay.
And I went to the magnet school.
May I ask you, which one do you prefer when it comes to educational learning?
So I think that they offered different things. The magnet school was phenomenal intellectually, but values-wise, not so much. And I'm a big believer in the idea that smart kids tend to continue to be smart. As long as you don't really, really screw things up. But values can be jacked by the time you're 15 or 16 years old.
We'll circle back to the whole like school thing because there's a whole education thing I kind of want to learn from you. But I want to hear the rest of the story.
Yeah. So I mean, when I went to high school, I was a couple of years. I skipped 3rd grade, and then I got to high school, and because I'd been in magnet school, I'd already learned everything in 9th grade. So I just skipped right into 10th, and so I skipped into a class where I knew nobody, where all the cliques had been formed for 10 years already. And so I was kind of the outsider to the entire class for a variety of reasons. And so when it came to, which group I got placed with in terms of socially, very often if there was, a social event like the Shabbaton, which was like a sleepaway, they would kind of put me with the cast-offs, like with the bad kids, even though I was a good kid. And like very good kid. And so, I ended up there, they were bullies. So they, hit me with belts, that kind of stuff. So it was really bad. And so, again, I could sort of use that as, okay, it's me, but I don't know. Some of it's probably makeup. I never thought it was me. I always thought they were just assholes, and so it was like, okay, fine. So they're bad people. But again, I think part of that is just being. There's something to the idea of, to use a sports analogy, constantly being the visiting fan at a home game. And for me, my whole life, it was kind of like that. Right? I've been a conservative person living in blue areas my whole life until the last few years. I'm an Orthodox Jew living in non-Jewish areas for a lot of my life. I was a newcomer to the Jewish community when I came into the Orthodox community. So I was always sort of the person. I'm a White Sox fan going to Angels games my entire childhood, right? So literally, I have sort of a pathological draw toward rooting for the team that's visiting. So even now when I'm like in Miami and it's a National League game or something, and I have no interest in either team, I end up just randomly rooting for the visiting team because it's so ingrained. So what that does, that sort of trains you to feel a sort of, okay, you want to come after me? Let's go. Like, that's okay. I'm in a strange place. That's all right. I'm comfortable being in strange places. That
you like your back up against the wall.
It doesn't bother me too much.
You have a very famous saying. It's your facts don't care about your feelings, and I think it's a great saying. Yeah, because like we could be amongst people that are trying to get us to believe a certain thing. We're like, hey, dude, we got to bring it back to reality. But do you think this like affected your heart for empathetic views? Like, do you think you've gotten so hard to the fact that like, I really don't care about your feelings, we need to get to the facts? Does it remove your joy and peace for what you're fighting for?
I don't think so. I think that when I say facts don't care about your feelings, I really mean in the context of a policy discussion. When it comes to interpersonal discussions, people talk about their feelings all the time and how it affects them. And if I were having a political conversation with somebody one-on-one, very often it's not going to just be pure policy. Very often it's going to be the impact of the policy on you and what does that mean for you and how to make different choices. Of course. And I think that that's true with my wife. It's true with my kids, right? It's all feelings and very little facts when it comes to your although with kids, I think it should be facts and not feelings very often. No, it's a very important word.
Is your raising of your how old are your children?
My kids are 10, 8, 4, and 1.
Okay. So you having children debating versus you not having children debating. When you're on these college campuses and you're like, this kid's driven in the wrong direction and I kind of have to drill him now. Have you became more soft now that you have children and realize that even your own children can make stupid mistakes?
I don't think so. Maybe that's just a process of aging. I doubt it probably has much to do with the kids. The truth is that I think a lot of the Ben Shapiro Destroys videos, sometimes it's somebody being obnoxious and,